Um, Welcome to Stoa, everyone. Super excited about this session. We have Tad Hargrave with us from Marketing for Hippies. Tad is a hippie who developed the knack for marketing, and he helps people doing good work become better marketers without sacrificing their integrity. And how I came across Tad, when I was doing my journaling, I was kind of like struggling about putting stuff in the market economy. Like the Stoa, as people know, is based in the gift economy, and I was doing courses and coaching and stuff like that. And I just felt kind of like this icky feeling. And a lot of people recommended me to Tad's work, and I started buying his ebooks. And yeah, a lot of his stuff helped ameliorate some of that tension that I felt. So I invited Tad to the Stoa to discuss what it's all about, what this marketing for hippies is. So if you have any questions, Tad and I will have a little exchange. If you have any questions, start putting in the chat. We'll pivot to Q&A relatively shortly. And I'll call on you, and then you can ask Tad your question. And this will be on YouTube. So if you don't want to be on YouTube, just indicate that in the chat and I'll read your question on your behalf. So Tad, welcome to the Stoa.
Thanks so much. It's really good to be here with you.
And I was thinking, like, starting with your motto, I guess it's your motto, ethical marketing for uncertain times. And then it continues, ethical because it needs to be honest and feel good to everyone, marketing because it needs to work. So might be a good place to start, just like what's like a 101 of what you do. What is ethical marketing? Why have something called Marketing for Hippies?
Well, why something called Marketing for Hippies is because so many of my hippie friends are terrible at it. And they've just really struggled with marketing, but they need to do it. And so that's a terrible bind to be in, to feel like you have to choose between either doing a kind of marketing that feels good, but it doesn't work, or that works, but doesn't feel good. And so, of course, what I'm suggesting is that we don't have to choose between the two. And at the heart of it, the reason that marketing feels so terrible is because at the bottom line, people are going for the sale instead of going for the truth. So instead of this overt agenda to get to the truth of, is this a fit in any conversation, there's this hidden agenda to get them to buy. And I think that's the baseline of why it feels so bad, and what makes most marketing unethical when it is.
And yeah, there's a few questions I want to tease out here. What kind of people, like who are these hippies? Like what defines a hippie?
You know, these days it's a lot of life coaches, holistic practitioners, permaculture people. There's some crafters, some farmers in there.
And the marketing literature out there, do you think that's the main culprit? Like the scripts that are associated with it that are oriented towards getting a sale rather than telling the truth?
I think that's a vector of it, but this seems to have been around a long time. You know, the old Latin phrase caveat emptor, let the buyer beware. So this isn't new to the 19th or 20th century that people have been unethical. And I mean, gosh, I imagine in Stoicism they talk about the importance of being ethical, and they weren't talking about it because people weren't being unethical at the time. So the question of how do you be a good human? How do you live the good life? I think that's probably a perennial question, because there's always the temptations. And maybe what's new, perhaps, about the modern sales training is it's become, I've been saying this a few times lately, it's a kind of Novocaine for the soul. There's a series of justifications for manipulation and coercion. It's actually become enthroned in a certain way. Here's how you hack your customer's mind. Here's how you install beliefs so they'll buy from you. Here's how you, you get the idea. Here's why people need to buy now. Here's why you're doing them a favor by strong arming them and by closing them. And here's all these tools for pitching, the invisible close, these ninja stealth tactics, all of which admitting there's something that needs to be hidden. Which is, of course, the problem, is that it's hidden. So I don't know if it's new, but I think perhaps the institutionalized rationalization of these kinds of manipulations and coercions, that may be. I don't know. I haven't studied it in that kind of depth.
And like, I've been experimenting with things in the gift economy and then in the market economy. And my experience in the gift economy, it just really feels like I'm just giving a gift, and it's just like being truthful is very easy. It just flows. But then sometimes it's wise to put things in the gift economy. Then sometimes it's wise to put things in the market economy. And I found a couple of like kind of barriers when I started putting things in the market economy. One was like, oh, I got a market. So then I go like read the literature and I'm like, hey, this doesn't feel like it vibes with what I'm trying to offer. So that kind of like the script issue. And the other one, when I kind of, after reading some of your stuff, and I did a lot of processing on it when people initially put you on my radar, it was just like fear of not being good enough or not offering something that I really felt had like value. And then doing enough iterations and reps, that kind of went away. So I'm curious if there's any kind of through lines, maybe have to do with fear or not feeling of worth, that makes one susceptible to falling to these scripts of lying, essentially.
Right. Well, my question back to you would be, what for you was the difference between sharing it as a gift and marketing it? What was it that felt different for you between those two scenarios? Like, why did you feel like, oh, now I have to go learn some marketing stuff?
Well, I have a lot of experience just like doing things for free. When I was working back in the 9 to 5 years ago, I was just doing free things like free events and stuff. And I didn't really call it a gift at the time, but it like, it felt like a gift. It was just like fun. And then when I started doing this, I put it, the framing of a gift economy. If you want to, this is my gift to you. If you want to provide a financial gift in return, do it. And then just that same energy just flowed. But when I was putting something in the market economy, there was sort of like, I was asking for a price back. And so it's like, there's a lot of expectations associated with that. And then that kind of froze me up. Like, can I meet those expectations? Can I manage those expectations? Can I meet them? Am I good enough for them? So when I processed that kind of expectation gap, that feels like where things started fading.
And how do you mean process the expectation gap?
Just journaled it, emotionally processed it, philosophically processed it.
And what was it that shifted for you that allowed you to feel better about doing it?
Can't recall the exact movements that happened, but I think it was just being afraid of being judged, and then delivering something that people would be critical about, and then that kind of like that fear space that emerged from it made me want to over deliver, or just froze me.
Yeah, I hear you. I had the same thing. I did free intro workshops. Like, it was a 3 or 4 hour evening, and I just did it for free for years, and it was a way to fill up my weekend workshop. And I started charging for it. At first, I just did sliding scale, but I actually started allowing people to pay when there were a couple of people who just insisted on paying. They gave me money, and I said, no, this is free. And they just looked at me and said, gave me the money anyways. And so I thought, okay, maybe I should start charging for it. It is interesting because I do think the gift economy, maybe the shadow side of it can be that there can be a laziness in what's being offered. Because, well, hey, I didn't promise anything, and hey, you get to pay whatever you want. So it can, if approached in the wrong way, it can encourage a kind of laziness, and I'm off the hook. I'm not accountable for anything because, hey, well, you can just pay me less at the end. And there is something about, okay, I'm going to set a price. Okay, this actually has to be worth that price. This has to be worth the time, the money they're spending. How do I do that? And so this can sort of hold us to account. I mean, literally accounting, with the numbers in a way that the gift economy doesn't always. So that's one thing, I would just say is it's very easy to say, oh, the gift economy thing is the more spiritual thing. That's the better thing. That's the more ethical approach. And I just don't know if I buy it, because also, I mean, Mark Silver talks about this very lucidly, that he wrote a piece called The Horrors of the Sliding Scale. Because what he noticed was people were basically using the sliding scale gift economy thing as a way to offload their stuff about money onto the audience. What that would look like is, just at the end, just to put whatever you want in the buckets at the back, and they didn't want to deal with their own stuff about money. So energetically, they just gave it to the audience, and then they would have to go deal with it. And being somebody as a participant in that work, it just feels terrible because you can feel the weight of all of that. So there's no way out of just dealing with our stuff. I love Pay What You Can. I do all my live workshops on a Pay What You Can basis still. I'm a fan of it, but it's not the only way or the best way.
Yeah. Like I caught like a sort of narcissism I had too with being in the gift economy. It's like, oh, I'm so special because I'm doing something for free.
Right. I'm better than all these other people, all these other frauds and fakes out there. I'm the one with the people doing the real work. Yeah, that's a familiar one.
And then being in the market economy, it has like a more of a delivery kind of like, so it like adds a certain amount of stress, like eustress done right. And there's something about like, I'm curious, and this might be a little bit off from the marketing aspect, but I'm finding the right relationship between the gift economy and the marketing economy. Something about feels right when I do more experimental stuff, like really experimental stuff as a gift. And then when something I feel like secure that there's some like value here, that it feels right in the market economy.
Interesting. Yeah, to me, the bottom line is there's a tension between two things all the time. At least these two things. So one of them is we want our work to be accessible to people. Because there's lots of people for various reasons just don't have the money, but could really use what we're offering. So we want them to be able to have access to it. But then on the other side, there's the sustainability piece. And it's got to sustain us. It's got to be safe for them to check it out and access it, but it's also got to sustain us. And I've seen it so many times where people sort of collapse and just, oh no, it's okay, I'll give it away. And the way they're doing the gift economy thing, the way they've set it up, the way they talk about it isn't working for them. They're not making enough money to even pay their bills, but no, I'm noble and I'm going to martyr myself for the cause. And it's just not required. But yes, I've found that where it's okay, I feel more certain about this. That's a good indication that one of the options is you could then, I'm just going to charge a fixed amount. Just because also it brings an ease. With the gift economy, there's always a bit of a, God, what are people going to pay today? You don't know. So that's been part of my experiences. Okay, yeah, this feels solid. I can charge. And if it feels better, I can charge a bit more for it.
I have maybe one more question for you. But are you open for like, case studies for the questions rather than like, yeah, I'm curious how you got into this and where was the sticking point for you when it came to marketing, if you ever had one?
My sticking point was that I drank the Kool-Aid. I was 18, so I delved into all the mainstream marketing and sales stuff, and I just believed it. And that just made me kind of fake and plastic and pushy. And that was the sticking point wasn't that I was nervous to promote myself. It was that I wasn't nervous enough, or I was too maybe entitled and wasn't really offering as much value as I could have, which was why when I started doing Pay What You Can, that was such a relief, because I'd been charged, I don't know, I was like in my early 20s charging these outrageous amounts for marketing workshops, because that's what I saw these, high level people charging. I thought, oh, that's what you do. And I had no business charging that amount. So it was an immense relief to do the Pay What You Can. And it wasn't that I wasn't trying to make it good. It was just nice to not be held to a certain standard that I wasn't at yet. And then to get the feedback from people and to see that it got better and better and better. So yeah, that was probably my sticking point in the beginning. And the central sticking point behind a lot of that was this hidden agenda to get the sale, which is at the heart of so much of the marketing work. And I'd really, because they never say that that's the center directly. It's just there all the time. That's clearly why we're doing everything, is to get people to buy. And I just was so on board with it without even knowing I was on board with it. And it wasn't until somebody pointed that out and showed me that that was the thing. That's what freed me up. And without that, there would be no marketing for hippies.
Mm. That seems like the crux point, is that pivot away from hunting for the sale and then telling the truth. Yeah, maybe just if you can speak more on that, like, how did that feel for you? Because I imagine, like, hunting for the sale, there's a mixture of maybe fear or greed or all these other type of emotions. And then telling the truth demands a certain courage, perhaps love. So I'm curious how that energetic pivot happened for you. And then maybe other people that you see, like when you kind of see that click, that movement.
Yeah, it's interesting you use the metaphor of hunting there, because I never have, but let me give it a try. I'm not saying the hunting is bad. Hunting is required. If you live in a traditional culture, somebody's got to do the hunting. Somebody's got to go out there and get the food. But it's also instructive, the shift that's happened in hunting, because of course now at the sort of extreme gross end, you have millionaires paying millions of dollars to do this trophy hunting, and they just go out and get some endangered animal that is drugged up and has no chance of escaping, so they can shoot it and get a photo and feel really powerful. But in traditional cultures around the world, I think there's a similar attitude towards it. First of all, the immense sacredness of it. Second, you weren't going out hunting probably a particular deer, where I come from. You were just going out to get food, probably with deer in mind, but maybe something else would show up. And before you went out, you would pray, and you'd lay down some tobacco and you'd say some prayers, and you would ask that an animal would offer itself up. And then maybe you go and you'd wait somewhere, and you might wait there for a long time. But at a certain point, a deer might walk right in front of you and just stand there. It's broadside to you. And the understanding was, if that deer is doing that and standing there, that deer is offering their life to you. And so then your responsibility is to kill it cleanly so it doesn't suffer, and then to use every part of the body and all that. So there's a similar thing in sales and marketing. The trouble is not with marketing or selling, though I don't even like that word, but talking with people about our stuff, that's not the problem. The problem is when it's, no, I have to get this animal. It has to be this one. Because let's say at a spiritual level, maybe that's not the animal that wants to offer its life to you. And so then maybe there are spiritual consequences for taking the animal that's not the one that offered. Maybe that breaks a certain deal that you have with that clan of deer, with those people. And so then you keep the covenant by saying a prayer and taking the one that's offered to you, and not saying, no, I want a better one, but that one. And that's the one that feeds your people. So do we need, people to buy? Yes, of course. If we have a business, we need people to come and spend money. But do we need this person in front of us right now to buy? No. Do I need anyone in this room that I'm speaking to buy? No. Do I need anyone listening to this podcast to buy? No. If we take the pressure off the particular, this helps a lot. And then, because if we do that, then obviously the skill we need to get better at is closing and pitching. You see, because you're in front of these people, so it has to be them. Or you're in front of this person, it has to be them. And what if it's not a fit? Well, then you've got to have all these skills to overcome their objections, to coerce, to manipulate, to persuade, to get them to buy. Use all the unconscious laws of persuasion that Robert Cialdini talked about in his book Influence. That's what you have to get good at in that scenario. But if you're going from this more sacred scenario, if you're just praying like, send me somebody who'd be a good fit, then actually the very first skill you need to have is this skill of discernment of, is this a fit? Is this the person to work with me? And so you're both focused on, yes, speaking the truth, but also asking for the truth from them. And you're just having a candid conversation instead of a pitch and a coercion. You're just trying to say, look, here's what I do. Here's what I don't do. Here's how I do it. Here's how I don't do it. Here's who I think it's for. Here's who it's not for. What's your deal? What are you dealing with? And then if they start talking and you realize, oh, they're probably the kind of person generally, then the questions get more specific. And you say, okay, but wait, are your symptoms like this or more like this? And how long has it been going on? And what have you tried? And you're not asking to get information to close them. You're getting information to see if it's a fit, because the truth of the conversation at the end of it might be, wow, thank you so much for taking the time to share with me. This is not a fit, but I know who you should talk to. You know, you've come to me for marketing stuff, but this is more emotional stuff I can see that you're clogged up with. So you should go talk to a Dr. Doug, you know, he helps people with emotional stuff, you know, and that'd be better. And once you've dealt with that, maybe come back and we can talk marketing, but I can just see that's, so you see what I'm saying? That may be the truth. Or the truth might be, I can help you so hard with this. And I think the most expensive package is the one. Or it might be, you know what, God, I got this ebook. Let's just read this ebook or go watch these videos for free. That's all you need. But we're just focused on the truth. And again, if I'm standing in front of a group of people, you know, if I'm the hunter and there's a bunch of deer, I'm just hoping maybe one of those deers will come forward, but I don't get to choose which one. And there may be no deer that day. And that's the reality of hunting too. You do everything right as a hunter. You know, you say your prayers and you go out and you wait and you're real sneaky and you're so hidden and you're upwind and you're, or whatever, you know, you do everything right and it still doesn't always work out. But yeah, so of course, it's not just you say prayers and you hope for the best. There's a lot of skill in hunting. You try to figure out where the herd is and, you know, you go there and there's all sorts of skill involved. But most of the skill is getting yourself set up for the shot. The shot is the smallest part. People, I think, I've never hunted, so I'm just, you know, I'm kind of freestyling here, but it's, if you, all your focus is, oh, I'm just going to get really good at shooting, you know, I'm going to get real good with this bow and arrow so I can always hit the target. Of course, that's important. You got to be able to hit the mark. But if you don't know where the herd is and you don't know how to hide, you're no good at being on your tippy toes, you know, it's like you're never going to get to the shot in the first place. So most of the skill in marketing is this upwind or upriver stuff of, first of all, getting clear with your ethics about it. Second of all, honing some sort of niche. Third of all, clarifying your point of view. Fourth, figuring out some kind of business model that won't be a total disaster. Fifth, building relationships with you know, hubs and people in the community. That's the stuff that sets you up to actually make an offer. You know, you get really good at establishing the relevance and the credibility. You build offers that are really valuable. You lower the risk. And if at that point, then people still have concerns, then you learn how to talk with people. But even then, again, the skill is not how do you persuade them. It's partly how can you discern if it's a fit, but also the other skill that's needed is how do you remove pressure from the conversation? That's such a skill. People think the skill is how do I overcome objections? But I mean, just think about that whole framing with everything we know about consent. Like, wow, somebody said no. How do you get over that so you can still get what you want? I mean, translate that to other areas where consent is used, and you start to see how unsettling that is. So that's not the skill. The skill is how do I identify where people are feeling pressured, including myself, and diffuse that. And so what that can look like in practical terms is you're sitting there talking with somebody and you can see them getting kind of pulling back and you say, can we just pause for a second? I'm not trying to get you to buy. That's really not my agenda here. I just want to see if this is a good match between us. I'm not convinced it is, you know, because some of the things you've said, but that's it. And if I can't help you, I'm happy to refer you somewhere else if I know somewhere. But, you know, I just want to clarify that. I'm not trying to sell you here. Just saying that, people, you know, people can breathe a sigh of relief. And then you just have a human conversation to see, does this make sense? And if it does, great. And if it doesn't, great. But we're trying to waste as little of their time and as little of our time as possible because we've got a tribe to feed. You know, we've got to, and so then if that spot isn't working, well, you got to go out hunting again quickly. You can't be wasting time.
Yeah, that was really good. I really like that kind of that thing that you're saying, that discernment of you know, okay, take this my highest offering, or take this ebook, or go to this person, like that discernment of what to offer. And it reminds me of like Bruce Lee's quote, like how he got enlightenment. I'm paraphrasing. He just found enlightenment through martial arts. And it's sort of like you can find enlightenment through marketing, or marketing could be your spiritual practice.
Sure.
And I think it's like, if that can't be the case, I think the move right there is just, if you're a spiritual person, or if you have a spiritual practice, is like extend marketing to be housed in that. And if that can't be housed in that, then it's a subpar spirituality, or compromised spirituality. And it reminds me of what Dr. Doug said when he came to the Stoa last, is spiritual practices is through a relationships, monastery, and business. So maybe I'll take you and Doug. You had a few questions in the chat.
Sure.
Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah. Okay. My question is, I've been exposed to both of you and love your perspectives on things. And this market economy versus the gift economy, if we go back to that comment, there's this other niche where people have something important to say, they just start saying it in a gift economy, and then they accumulate patrons. And, people just start, whether you set it up on a Patreon page or not. Like, just wondering, Tad, if you have any insights or ideas on how that resonates relative to straight marketing, or that compromise between the two, because it seems to be a different model than the pay what you can, and one that quite a number of people seem to master. And I'm just wondering if you could share some insights on that.
I don't know too much about it, but I'll try. It seems one of the differences is, with the gift economy, people are paying whatever amount feels right, sort of in the moment. Whereas with the Patreon, I suppose they pick an amount that feels right, and then every month it's the same amount. And so in this way, you've got a bit of a subscription model, meaning people are paying you $50 a month. And I suppose part of the difference is, on one level, of course, they're hoping for $50 of value, but they may also be giving you the $50 just because they want to see your work in the world, even though they're not going to benefit from it, or they don't have a particular interest or need for it, but they can see that the community needs it. So then it becomes almost more of a nonprofit model, where I'm giving this money just to sustain this work. And I suppose if you're doing a Patreon, it's really good to be clear which angle you're taking. Are you because if you're doing it for the community, the things that they may want back for that $50 are just stories of how it's going. Like, hey, I took this workshop to Zambia, and here's what happened, and here was the amazing things. We built this permaculture garden there, and here's the photos, and here's some conversations I had with people. They may just want that kind of inside access, backstage pass to your work, to be sort of to know that their money is going to something good. Because it's the worst feeling. You give money to a nonprofit, but then you never know what good it did. They don't report back. There's no celebration of it. There's no, here's what we built with your money, and so that's helpful for people. People like to see the results. But I suppose other Patreons could be set up as where people are really hoping for the perks and wanting those things. My friend Corin Raymond, who's a musician originally from Winnipeg, but now in Toronto, and his Patreon, he has something called the rhyming room table, and he's just, here's a song I'm halfway through writing, like I just got the chorus, I'm pretty happy. He'll share that, and he'll share his emotional struggles, that he has, and it's just kind of, this little backstage pass, and people are happy just because they love him and want to support him. And I don't think in that case they're jonesing for the perks, but of course, if they don't get anything, they probably won't give. So it's interesting. It feels like it's different from market versus gift economy in the way that it brings in a bit of that nonprofit angle to it, of people just want to support the community.
And can I comment on that? And because it actually ties in with that other comment about, I love the metaphor with the deer and the hunting, because when you pray before you go hunting, and the deer sort of shows itself broadside in front of you, there's a sense of, there's a connection and permission. And I think in marketing, there's a similar thing with point of view. And that's something that I've really come to appreciate with you, Tad, is that when you give your point of view, it's a kind of like energetic emanation into the universe, and you attract your tribe. You attract the people that will hear you speaking in the way that you see the world, often in ways that they can never hear that same message from other people. So that, now we tie that in with this other piece about the gift versus the market economy versus the Patreon economy, where it's like, and I'd love you to wrap your marketing pattern recognition around this, Tad, because, you know, that's kind of your gift to us, is that because it seems like, in a sense, instead of, most of our marketing has been towards products, right? Or coaching or whatever service that we're doing. And the Patreon is like, we're marketing a person, we're marketing our point of view. And I'm wondering if the dynamics in marketing a point of view or a person is different than the dynamics in marketing a product. And I don't expect you to have a answer bang like that, but I think it's worth contemplating. I know this is a direction that I would love to move in, because I'm very aware of the restrictions of putting so much stuff behind paywalls. And I've had wonderful stuff behind paywalls that I'm trying to find ways to putting it out for, you know, accessibly. And how do I do that and build up a base of people? Like, because it seems like a different marketing strategy. So this is very real for me, and I'm sure for many others on this call, because we're kind of inclined this way. It's like an evolution in the whole hippie thing, right? Yeah. So I'd love you to think about that, marketing a person versus marketing a product, and how many of the principles apply, and other dynamics like that, the spiritual parallels between finding your tribe and the people that need to hear you speak as you speak.
Okay, there's a lot there. So let me just see. So part of it is, there's a distinction you're wondering about, of, you know, on one hand, we've got the products and services that we have, and then how do we market those? And then there's the sort of person and the point of view, and how do we market those? And you're wondering about the relationship between those. So, okay, let's start with that. So the first thing is, I don't know if they're side by side. I think there's more of a sequential something there, that the point of view and the person come first, and the product and the service come later. And that people mix up the order, you know, meaning if they don't buy the point of view, they're not going to buy the product. If they kind of don't buy the person, they're also not going to buy the, you know, the package that person's offering. So it's much more that. Okay, but let me then tear that all apart, because in some ways I do understand the word marketing trips us up. I don't believe that we are selling ourselves. Yeah, I just think that's a frame that it becomes a red herring, and it becomes this thing that trips us up in ways that aren't necessary. So let's just say we're sharing. Yeah, I'm just sharing myself. This is me, and I'm sharing that. I'm sort of putting, here I am, you know, on the table, and you can pick it up or not. I'm not trying to convince you to pick it up. But this is just me and my point of view too. I mean, am I making a case that for this point of view? Yes, but I'm not making the case so that you will buy from me. What I'm doing is saying, look, whether or not you buy from me, I see you have this problem. I see you want this result. Here's my point of view, my perspective on the best way to get from A to B. So whether or not you buy from me is sort of a side issue. But that's the first case that needs to be made before we make the case for a product or a package or a service. We have to make the case for the rationale. Before we sell the course, we really have to sell the concept. That's what we have to make the case for. And so there's a sequence. But I would just invite everyone to let go of any thought about selling yourself or marketing yourself. I just think that's a You're just who you are. I mean, just be yourself. That's handled. The people who resonate with you will step closer because of that, and the ones who don't like you will step further away. And there's nothing you can do about that. I mean, the only thing you can do about that is start to posture and be fake and pretend to be somebody you're not. But of course, you know, that just ends in disaster anyways. So you might as well just be you. You know, if you can't fix it, feature it, let your freak flag fly, all that. Just be yourself, and then that becomes a part of the mix. You're the captain of the boat, but there's nothing you can do to change yourself as a captain. So it's just, here's who I am as a captain. If you like me as a captain, feel free to get on the boat. There's other boats that are pretty similar with different captains. Knock yourself out. And then, but yeah, then we have to talk about this point of view before we talk about the product and service. And this is part of the challenge, is people put so much emphasis on the selling of the product, the pitch, the convincing people to buy, and they put almost no emphasis on sharing the philosophy behind it. But I think that's actually where most of the impact is in marketing, or that's just the most important part, is making that case. So that's the kind of my thought on the first thing. And then there's another question, Doug, you had there's a question about, is there wondering of how much to give away for free in terms of content? Or is it a different kind of inflection on that?
I think that's sort of it, but in the people that I see doing this well, they seem to give everything away for free, right? And so maybe there's a stepping stone in between there. Or maybe they don't.
I don't know if there is a stepping stone. I mean, so this is just, something for the house to marvel over, is that out of all my content, the topic that I've given away the most free or really cheap stuff on is niching. Maybe the ethics in marketing, how to make marketing feel good, is kind of close number 2. But I would just say pound for pound, I've got more stuff on niching. That's what I give away. If you go to marketingforhippies.com/steps, and then go to, I think it's step 2 is on niching, and you see a ton of links to a bunch of playlists. There's so much under that topic. And within each of those, I mean, there's just hundreds of videos on this. But then when people book me for one-on-one consultations, guess what almost everybody wants to talk about? It's niching. So it's so strange. You would think, aha, but no, Tad, that's the thing you're giving away for free. So they would already have that handled, and they would come to you for the point of view thing, or the hub marketing, or the business model thing. They wouldn't be coming to you for the niche because you gave that all away. No, it's the opposite. It's so strange. That's what they want, because now they've gotten the theory, and they say, oh, well, now, but how does this translate to me? I get the idea, but what does my niche look like? What is my point of view? What are my hubs? What would my business model be? They're like, well, I like what you're saying, but I don't get the translation. And so for me, George Cow, one of my colleagues, says it really well. He says, be generous with your content, be stingy with your time. And I think that's great, because I think most people have that completely backwards. They just give their time away for free, and free coaching and helping, but all my content's behind a paywall. And for business, I would just flip that. Be really stingy with your time. You've only got so much. Make sure you're working with people who really are a fit, who you can really help, build up the infrastructure of your business, get more skillful, but yeah, rather than the other way.
Cool. Thanks, Doug. Aaron, you had a good question. I'll take you in.
Hey, Tad. Question is that, excuse me, I find that some creators are skilled with marketing, but they have a terrible product.
Yeah, sure.
There are some who have a great product, but they're terrible at marketing. And so I'm wondering, should you ensure that you have a good product before you start exploring marketing, or should you really just be marketing and working on your product from the beginning at the exact same time? What's the proper relationship between a good product and good marketing? Is there some kind of order, et cetera, et cetera?
That's a great question. Okay, so let's just say there's 2 places that people can get stuck in business. One is they try a bunch of stuff and they never ask for market feedback on it. Yeah, they put a bunch of stuff out and they just keep experimenting, but they never learn from any of those experiments at all. Or the second is people just stay in their head and think, oh, I could do this and this, but they never offer anything. So there's a lot of reflection, but no action. And in the other one, there's a lot of action, but no reflection. So let's just say we need both of those. And sometimes people make a product, they think, oh, this is going to kill. Oh man, I'm going to make a t-shirt and put a fox on it. Everyone's going to love that. and their friends say, no, it's not 2016 anymore. That's not popular. And so, but they go out and say, whatever. And they put out all these t-shirts and nobody buys them because they already got those 5 years ago. So they're like, damn it. Now I have 100 Fox t-shirts and I can't sell them. And so that can happen. And it's like, why did you make 100? Like, why did you put all this effort into this thing that nobody wants to buy? So that can happen where people get a great idea in their head, but they never talk it through with the marketplace. So I just think that they go hand in hand. They're partners. Instead of talking with the marketplace forever and never offering something, or just offering things without never talking, we just keep checking in, where it's like, hey, everybody, I'm thinking about doing a workshop on this topic. Is anyone interested? Because if you get crickets, and no matter how you ask, it's like, yeah, that's cool. Like, if that's the response you're getting from everybody, it's probably not a great idea. But if you say, hey, I was thinking about doing a workshop on this. Oh my God, yes. Somebody, you get that kind of response, then it's like, okay, this is needed. And then, you could, let's say you get the topic figured out and a lot of people responding to it. And then the next piece is you say, well, here's what I was thinking about doing as the format for this workshop. What do you think? That sounds all right. That's no good. But, but then you say, well, I was thinking about doing this. And they say, oh my God, yes, I always wanted to. So you start to, in a conversation with them, and of course there's some things you can't reveal because it's not going to make sense to them, but you can talk it through with the audience. And then you can also do that with the pricing. Like, I was thinking about charging this. I don't know. What do you think makes most sense? And like, what would you be willing to pay for this? And you can get some really honest answers. And again, that only happens if you're having a conversation where you're going for the truth of, is this a fit? And you're really asking, rather than this becomes a covert sales call, where at the end of it, you say, well, you said yes to all these things. And actually the program's already designed. It does all those things. And since you said yes to all those things, then surely you need to buy, that kind of trickery is no good. But if people can feel that you're sincere, so you just go to a bunch of your people, and you can even sit down with them and say, could you help me figure this out? Could you help me figure out how to design this workshop? Because I've got some ideas, but maybe you have ideas too. Like, what would you want in a workshop like that? It's like, oh man, I'd love a lot of journaling time. Or I want time in nature. Or, you know what? I'm so tired of workshops where it's so interactive. I just want to hear you talk. I just want to listen, I love what you have to say. I just want to kind of absorb it and be in the bath of that. And I'd less of the other stuff. Or I want to work with my hands. And some combination of the thing that you want to offer and, what they're craving is where it is. And I won't go into it in depth, but if you check on my YouTube, I've got a couple of videos on the artist and the entrepreneur, because there's that archetypal thing where the artist starts with, well, here's what I want to make. And the afterthought is, would anyone be interested in this? Where would I find them? And for the entrepreneur, they think, okay, what's needed? What's the hole in the marketplace? And then the second afterthought maybe is, what could I offer them? Which is the artistic creative approach. So that tension never goes away. Anyways, there's some videos where I go into that more, but don't expect that ever to get easy it resolves itself. It's just a marriage, which is just as fraught as any marriage is.
Can I follow up?
Yeah.
Another question that comes up with your response is, how important is it to have like a community of people you trust to give you feedback? Because if you just listen to your audience purely, they might give you feedback that actually is not that great. Like, oh, you guys really want this? Is that actually a good thing to offer? Like, is it good to have people you really trust? Like, these are my friends, they're watching, they're observing, and they say, this is a good idea, Tad, like you should do this.
Yeah. Well, first of all, people you trust, of course, but you don't want to be getting marketing advice from your friends.
Okay.
Your friends are not your ideal clients. That's the only person you want feedback from, is people who are, the exact kind of person you want to work with. That's it. Because your friends will have all sorts of nice theories, but your ideal client, they're in, I mean, it's the same thing of, let's flip it to nonprofit, and maybe it'll be a better example. You want to start a nonprofit. There's a community of color. And you're a white person. You're like, I want to go in and help this community. And you say, what should I offer this community? So you get a bunch of your white friends together from Marin County, and you say, let's envision a solution for these poor people of color. I really trust you. I trust you to tell me the truth as my friends who all happen to be white, you know? And then you come up with some insane project and you take it into that community and they're just like, the fuck is this? Versus you build relationships with people in that community and you say, I've got this idea. I don't know if it's a good idea. I don't know if it'd be welcome. I don't know the protocol. Can you help me understand? You know, and then they help you design something that would actually be useful for their community. But if you're not talking to people who are in that community, you're going to get some, you're rolling the dice in a way that is not needed.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Aaron. Okay, we will sneak in one more question. Do you have a hard stop at the top of the hour, Ted?
No.
So if it goes a little bit over, it's cool. Alea, you had a question.
Yes, hi. So my question is around how concrete does a person's worldview need to be in order to start marketing? Because you mentioned like starting with philosophy, and I feel kind of not super on solid ground when it comes to my philosophy and worldview. And I guess what's at the heart of this question is how open do we need to be? Because I think integrity is super important and authenticity in marketing. But does a person need to share like everything that they're kind of exploring with their worldview and their spirituality and where they're at with their philosophy? Or is there like a balance of like keeping some things in service of like supporting others?
How do you mean that last bit?
So I'm thinking of like something I heard from, I think it was Seth Godin or something a few years ago, where he said like, you have a piano teacher who is like having personal trouble. Like you don't want them to tell you that they're struggling with all this stuff, because like the best thing they can do is actually keep that to themselves and give you a great piano lesson. So sometimes it feels like what's in service of other people is being fully like open about everything and just like sticking to like the service I can offer. And sometimes there's a part of me that wants to like share more. So I don't know how to balance that.
Oh, wow. I mean, well, just amen. Above my pay grade in a way, partly because this is a very personal choice. So I would say that. But there's a very human dynamic, right? How much do we share even with our friends? What's welcome, what's not, what's too much, what's overwhelms, when is it dumping on people and when is it relating to people? And so this is a very human question. And certainly I've struggled with that myself. So that's the first thing. Second thing is there's no right way to do this. I've seen colleagues of mine just like share way more. Like, here, I'm in an open relationship now, and here's how it's going, and I'm going to talk with my partner. And you do these kind of like Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith, open conversations where we're just airing everything in front of the world, and it's not what I would do. But that doesn't mean it's, I think that also attracts. There's a certain kind of person that will then become your audience. Kevin Smith, the filmmaker, you follow him. He just shares a lot. He shares a lot about his life. He's just very crass and frank and direct about things. So that can work. It's as some people will hate it. Some people will be like, wow, she is oversharing way too much, TMI, and they're out. And other people, oh my God, I've been looking for somebody who is so open like this, and wow, I'm learning so much. So I wouldn't personally base that one on a marketing strategy. Like, oh, what's the market going to like best? Because there's a lot of people in the marketplace. So I would do the thing that you feel called to do, and then let the chips fall where they may. Yeah. But then there's another element to this of just how relevant is it, I suppose, is another axis on this conversation. Maybe one axis is like, they want it versus I want it. There's something like this, but then there's this axis of just how relevant is what I'm even sharing to what I offer. So let's say you're starting a farm and you say, boy, I'm trying to figure out how to do this farming. Do I want to do organic or biodynamic? Do I want to do hugelkultur? Do I want, I don't know. And you can share your journey of figuring it out. It's like, I tried this and that was a disaster, and there it is, just rotting in my field, and damn it now, so you can share all your failures, and that's actually very compelling, but that's on topic. But you might also say, hey, over the next year, every month, I'm going to dive into some different philosophy to kind of see what resonates with me, some different modality, and I'll share my results with you. And someone's like, oh my God, I found my new favorite tool. And then the next month it's like, this is a piece of shit. How does anybody believe in this? So you could share that, and it's on topic as well. You could be sharing your experiences and your thoughts and reflections. And you could just say, look, here's what I do feel clear about, and here's what's unclear for me right now. This is what I'm still figuring out myself. And that can also be, so there's 3 C's in social media. I can't remember where I heard this from. But the first C is there's content that you create. You make it yourself. So if you go to my Instagram, you'll see a bunch of these. There's some of these like watercolor memes with quotes, and I made those. The reels, that was me who made it. But then every Monday, I do a meme Monday where I collect like 9 of my favorite memes and I share those, and that's me curating. So that's the second C. I didn't make those memes. I curated those memes. They're just other people's funny memes. And then the third one is you can conversate. And this is the one I don't do as much, but boy, you can get a lot of mileage on social media where you actually engage conversations. And it's good to know this. So raise your hand if you're familiar with open space technology. You know what that term means. Okay, so yeah, there's a few So basically it's a way of facilitating gatherings where instead of offering answers, you're offering the opportunity to explore a question. Yeah, and then people get together and sort of self-facilitate into groups and talk about the things they want to talk about. And isn't that interesting that that's a really popular way of running events, where it's just based on the questions that people get to gather around? You're not promising anything. There's no result. There's no I'm going to resolve this for you. It's just, if you are curious to talk about this topic, so there's a lot of conversations in Canada right now around the Truth and Reconciliation. So commissioners, you could be hosting gatherings to talk about that, and people would show up just based on the question itself, and the chance to hash it out. So we can do this in our business too. We can say, my business is really, or this project I have is based on this question, which I hope to never answer, but it's based on here's a mystery that I don't like. This project is based on how do we balance the individual, the sovereignty of the individual, with the collective community and the village, and what's the relationship between those two. You just talk about that for the rest of your life. So you don't have to even have an answer to offer to people. You could just have questions, and then in your social media say, hey, everybody, what are your thoughts about this? I'm really puzzled about this. This is something that doesn't make sense. And then you just engage in the conversation below, and then you can engage and, talk with people about it. And those threads can be extremely popular. So anyways, those are some thoughts. I don't know if that's helpful at all.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I think your answer gave me some insight into like a gap between expectations people have for what a coach does, knows, or can offer versus where I feel I currently am. And at least I think I have some insight on what I need to do to be more in integrity. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
All right, we'll close with a case study from our friend Malcolm Ocean. Malcolm.
Hey, Malcolm, long time no see.
Your audio, I don't think is working, Malcolm.
Boy, even longer time no hear. That's one word. Sounds like stirring. Stirring sounds like dancing. Ducking and weaving sounds like searching. It's a It's blinking. It's the wind. You're dancing. Your tree dancing in the wind. I'm not.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Great. Excellent, excellent charades, there, improv there. Cool. So, yeah, I thought I would offer at least one question related to my business as a bit of a case study. So I run a software company that makes an app that helps people achieve their goals, and it's called Accomplice. And I've been running it for 9 years now or something like that, and it's been my source of livelihood for most of those years. And it really seems like there's a very wide range of people who have been paying for it over that time. We've got students, self-employed people, parents with jobs, people running nonprofits, like it's kind of lots of different types of people, and they don't seem to form any kind of obvious niche, at least in demographic terms. The main thing they have in common is something like people who want to be more intentional. And Accomplice has a whole philosophy around what intentionality means. So maybe that gets at the point of view stuff. The growth has plateaued years ago, and I'd like it to grow, but I don't want to niche in a way that makes it seem like Accomplice isn't for certain types of people who would totally love it. Like if I said, self-directed entrepreneurs, you could use this to whatever your business. Like if that's on the homepage, the students are going to turn away. The 9 to 5 parents are going to turn away. So it's like, can niches be abstract, like intentional people? Like how would you approach something like this?
It's a great question. First of all, how's Jean doing?
Pretty well. I'm actually going to be in Ontario in.
Oh, we lost you. There we go.
Yeah, this device has gotten very confused. Anyway, yeah, I'll be seeing her in Ontario in like a week or so. But I've been traveling and elsewhere for the last couple of years. So anyway,
pass on my love. So okay, this is a good question around target market. So let's imagine there's a concentric circles, a target, yeah, and you've got the bullseye. You got 1 ring out, 2 rings out, 3 rings out. And let's imagine that every ring out is worth 10 times more than the previous one, with the most points being at the bullseye. So the furthest one out, these are the qualities of the people. So they're responsible, they're respectful, they're punctual, etc. The next ring in would be the demographics. So these are the outer things. So they're an entrepreneur, their ethnicity, their age, anything you could determine from the outside, their income. You could hire a private investigator. That's a demographic. The next ring in are the psychographics. See, these are the worldviews, the beliefs, the values, the themes that they're a part of. And then the bullseye is the issue. What's the thing that they're struggling with, or what's the result that they're craving? And so the mistake a lot of people make in marketing is they just focus so much on the qualities, which is, as you know, if we're going by orders of 10, this is worthless. It's so little, yeah. It's like a garnishing, but it's not much. And then that ring in from that, the demographics, it's good. It can be helpful. Sometimes it's like, no, I just work with men. I just work with women. I just work with people 65 plus. I just work with people in this income bracket. It can be a distinguisher, but in my experience, for a lot of entrepreneurs, it's not that helpful. And then we've got the psychographics, and you see this is 10 times more than 100 times more than the outside ring. And this is so critical. This gets to your question. You've determined the issue. The bullseye is they're wanting to be more productive. Yeah, they're wanting to accomplish their goals. That's the general boom. But then which kind of people? And as one of the things Malcolm says, he said, well, it's based on a certain philosophy. So to me, that's what you do, is you say, okay, what is our philosophy? And where would we find people who share this philosophy? Where do they hang out? What are the hubs for those kinds of people? People who believe as we do. Because, it's maybe like, for some reason, the Christian community. for some reason, and it's not always obvious. Like there's a woman, Alison McDowell, who she has a great blog called wrenchinthegears.com, and she writes about the intersections of race, technology, and power and all this. And she saw what's coming for schools, which is horrifying. I mean, table-sized tablets where kids are, AI is directing kids into career paths, in the 5 major industries of, biotech and green energy. It's just, and she was really disturbed by that. And so she went to her left-wing friends and said, oh my God, this is terrible. And none of them gave a shit. She was so concerned and they didn't care. And then she kept talking about it. She just kept putting it out. And she found that her audience, the people who responded to it, have been Christians and holistic practitioners, not who she was thinking about at all, but that's who it was. So to me, this is one of the big questions in marketing. It's like, well, yeah, who are my people? And we got to look at who they are. And it's like, okay, they seem to be coming because they resonate with this philosophy. So who else shares this philosophy? What are the podcasts that talk about this philosophy? What are the communities and scenes that generally share this philosophy? Because, there's a colleague of mine in Victoria, Carmen Spaniola. On her website, there's one part, she does a lot of healing work. She has this one part where she says, if you're into ascended masters, theosophy, spiritual hierarchies, etc., we're not a fit. That's very clear. That's very candid. Yeah. And she has a certain philosophy. So if she was looking for hubs and she found like the theosophical, conference to speak at, and they invited her, it's like, no, that's not it. She'd be saying, okay, but here's what I do believe. Where do those people hang out? So it's one of the best questions you can ask yourself is a few questions. One is, yeah, what are the podcasts that my people would listen to? Number 2, what are the books they read? What are their favorite books and authors? What would be on their shelf? Number 3, what are the scenes or communities they're already a part of outside of, what we do? And you can get so much information. And then it's just because there's 2 different ways to find clients. One is you find people who want to be productive, and then you say, hey, here's our philosophy. If you resonate with that philosophy, please come talk to me after, right? But you're starting with the issue of people not being productive enough. But the other one is you could go to a group of people who share your philosophy and speak to them and say, hey, raise your hand if you want to be more productive. And they both work. They both get you to the same place. But sometimes it's easier to find the hubs based on the, depending on the issue, it can be easier to find hubs based on the psychographics and the scenes than the issue. Yeah, it's like if it's, I don't know, conditions like asthma or rickets or I don't know, whatever, you could find people, there may be hubs for them that you can reach them at. Facebook groups they're a part of, they're all struggling with the same issue. You might be able to do that, but sometimes there's just, I don't know if are there Facebook groups for like how to be more productive Facebook group? And would that be your people? But you could go and just talk about your philosophy to them.
So, right. So yeah, that's a really helpful point.
We lost you again.
Okay. This camera that I'm using the microphone on doesn't seem to understand that I'm using it. So it auto turns off after a couple minutes. Anyway, so it's like, I think I've been thinking mostly in terms of like, maybe go to people who sort of have an issue around, productivity or intentionality or something like that, and try to say, hey, check out my philosophy. And I don't offhand feel like I have a clear answer to the, where people with a resonant philosophy kind of already congregating, but I do feel like I could think of that. I could probably come up with some answers, and then that might help.
And you could ask your people. You could just say, send them a quick survey and say, look, we're trying to spread the word. I'm curious, what are like around this theme of productivity, intentionality, achievement, etc. What are the books that you have read the most? What are, and then, but also, hey, outside of this, just I'm curious to learn more about you. What are the different scenes that you're a part of? Are you part of the vegan scene, the this scene, the that scene? It could be curious, but also the other question I would ask is, I would just say, look, here in a paragraph is our philosophy, or in a page, this is our philosophy. Where do I find people like this? who believe this, because just when you say the word intention, it makes me think of, oh gosh, what's her name? She's a new age author, and she's got a book just called Intention or something like this, and it's all about how you just meditate on something for collectively for 8 seconds, and then you manifest it, But then it may be like, oh no, that's the law of attraction intent. That's not my thing. I'm not into that. I don't want those people. Okay, well then what do you mean? And then you start to get really clear. And again, you can do this on Facebook. You can say, hey everybody, here's my philosophy. Where do I find these people? Please comment below. You could email your list and you could say, hey, everybody, this is as you know, our philosophy of this app is based on this. Where do we find other people? Yeah, who are the authors? Who are the podcasts? Who are the scenes that this idea is a real big part of it? And you can start getting ideas. And then the next step, because let's say you only get 3, you go to Harvest and there's not much to pick. You only got 3 things. Okay, great. So you go talk to those people. And when you talk to them, you say, can you think of anyone else? And you just keep following that trail. And you will start to find all these scenes and communities that you never even heard of. Even we think we're hip to the scene until we actually go out and start asking. And then people tell you about these magazines and a hashtag you'd never checked out, and this person on Instagram, and then you find somebody on Instagram who talks about intention exactly the way you do, and you say, hey, could we do an Instagram live together? I'd love to interview you for my people, or do
Right. Yeah.
whatever. And then you start building these relationships and connections, and then you take it from there.
Perfect.
Awesome. Thank you, Malcolm. So we'll close here. Excellent session today. If you want to find Tad's work, I'll drop his website on the video description and then the chats in a moment. But Tad, any parting words you'd like to leave us with here at the Stoa today?
No, I'm grateful to have been here with you. Thank you so much for your time, everybody. Yeah, I've heard really good things about your podcast, Peter. So it's a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, likewise. And I quite enjoyed the books I read and this session. So thank you for all that you do. Do definitely check out Tad's work. And next session at the Stoa is coming up Thursday. The Berkeley Alemic, a new space in Berkeley, California, dedicated to meditation, movement, spirituality, scientific experimentation, and psychedelic integration. So it's like, imagine if the Stoa was in person. This is what it will be. And Eric Davis, Michael Taff, and Catherine Devaney will be there, the co-founders of the Berkeley Alembic. So check that out. So that being said, Tad, everyone, thank you so much for coming to Stoa today.